You and I met at the Western Hunting Expo last year. I don't know if you remember this or not. Diego and his dad, Diego from Main Beam Addiction, went ahead and he introduced me to you. It was just kind of a random meeting, and you were telling me about Western Hunt Fest. And immediately I was like, sir, you have my attention. And
Yeah,
I could see my husband being like, oh boy, here we go. Because
right.
you were naming off all the things that are just like me to a T, and like, wait, there's a competition for that? What? But I would like to kind of get to know you a little bit better and get to know your backstory before Western Hunt Fest.
Okay.
Kind of give us like where you grew up, were you always into the outdoors? What did that life look like before Western Hunt Fest?
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in southern Colorado. I grew up in a huge hunting family. Like, hunting was the thing. Like, from the time I can walk, I had been hunting, whether that was like small game. And then here in Colorado, we can't hunt big game until we're 12. And then my family, they were stern on that. Like, you're not old enough. You have to be 12 years old, and then you can go elk hunting. Deer hunting before that, we would go to the ranch. My family owns a ranch in southern Colorado,
Very
so
cool.
we go with them and go deer hunting with them. But yeah, elk hunting was like the thing, right? So at 12 years old, got into it. I thought I was good, but I had some amazing hunters as my family members. So they took me in. I was able to be successful almost every year until about 18. And then fast forward a few years, I picked up bow hunting, and that was a wrap. Once I picked up bow hunting, I just fell in love with it. Like, it was like that love all over again, right?
Hmm.
Like I just loved everything about it. I loved the calling. I loved like the good weather. I
Yes.
the long seasons, just all of it on top of the hunt. But and then fast forward to the Western Hunt Fest thing. So I didn't start this alone. I started it with Efren Gonzalez. He owns a apparel company called Pack 'em Out, and that's kind of how I met Diego through that.
Okay.
But doing like the trade shows and the like tack events, the Mountain Archery Fest, we wanted to create something that was one fun like those events, but we wanted to have a competition with it.
Hmm.
So we just came up with this plan and we just ran with it. We wanted to do a pack out challenge. We wanted to do an elk culling contest. We wanted to have seminars. We wanted to have vendors. We wanted to have it all. So we just kind of drew it up and went for it.
I love the concept of it, definitely. Going back to like your bow hunting though, because obviously I think the bow hunting is a large part of Western Hunt Fest, correct?
Yes.
And so, bow hunting, you said you picked it up when you were about 18. Was that something that you had been doing with your family very much at all, or was it something you kind of had to learn?
So I picked it up way later than 18. I picked it up when in about 2013. I picked it up. I moved to Arizona, and in order to hunt every year in Arizona, you have to bow hunt.
Oh,
So I and you can get a over the counter like deer tag in Arizona. And I thought it was just going to be a transition. Like, look, I'm a fairly efficient rifle hunter, right? So I
hmm.
thought it was going to happen with the bow. Well, I started chasing these desert deer around with a bow, and it was just like it blew my mind because I had to get way closer, and two, like I wasn't good at it. So yeah, so I picked up bow hunting. Then I moved back to Colorado, and I kind of mixed the two together. And when I mixed the two together, I became proficient again.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of trial and error. Like Efren Gonzalez, so he's the other founder of Western Hunt Fest. So he had picked up bow hunting a little bit before that, and he was currently living in Arizona. So he was the one that told me, "Hey, we got to pick up a bow. We got to do this." So we would just go to our local range. We sucked with the bow, to be honest. We were just, good enough to get it done, but just that, right? And we both grew up rifle hunters, and then yeah, that's
What like what do you think helped you close the distance on actually becoming a good bow hunter? From starting out just like going to the range, going through the motions to actually because then as you know and as Western Hunt Fest shows you, then you've got all the hiking, you've got to definitely work with the wind. It's got to be in your favor.
yeah.
You've got the calling. You remember, like, was there a hunt where you were like, wow, I sealed the deal, all this came together, and now I'm feeling like I've got it done?
Oh yeah, yeah. So like my competitive nature won, right? I hate losing. I hate failing. So I like the first couple times I failed, I just geeked out on it, right? So like I figured out every last piece that I was weak at and I worked on it. But yeah, the calling for sure. So like I grew up, like I said, I grew up in Colorado hunting elk, so I
Mhm.
knew all a little, but I didn't know all like the details within, right? I knew how to make the sounds, but I didn't know what I was saying. So I kind of really geeked out on. Have you ever heard of row hunting resources?
I have not, no.
So it's Chris Rowe. So he just goes through this like elk module, and he has, I mean, he goes in depth, like what the elk are saying and kind of what the elk are doing and this, that, and the third, right? So I really geeked out on that. And then once I finished up with that, then I kind of went to like the Elk 101. I went to the Elk Bros. I went to everybody that I can get information on calling, and I just practice and practice and practice. And then there was one particular hunt where we had this giant bull, like over the counter public land. He would not come in. We could not get him in. And that just, I became obsessed over it because I was like, I know if I was able to call efficiently, I can get this bull over. And I understood a little bit, but not like what I do now, right? And
Yeah.
I out on it.
Yeah. Those kind of hunts too can leave like or cause, I guess, some real sleepless nights where you're just like replaying every scenario over and over again. And it sounds like you're like me, like I don't like to lose.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was beat, it
Yep.
just makes you really go through and be like, okay, I thought I knew what I was doing. Now, how do I take it that much further into things? You mentioned calling. And I know you guys have a bugling contest, and I see sometimes you guys have some youth getting in on that, which I love because I feel like little kids, you bugle with a tube, and all of a sudden a little kid picks it up, and it's like
Oh
they
yeah.
sound good. And then I think over time they kind of like overthink things. It's always so funny to me that the little kids will always get, I think, a bugle back. But it kind of made me wonder, like, if there's a story outdoors that you remember as a kid that like had you hooked on hunting.
Yeah. So as a kid, so my parents were super cool, right? My parents like when we got out of school, we went fishing. We went like shed hunting. We went looking at animals. So we would always go and look at animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we were never into like the calling part of it, but we were in super into listening to them. So we would always drive. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Hill Ranch, but it's where a lot of the TV shows were filmed and
Mm-hmm.
what. But it's super close to where I grew up. So we would drive up the highway and we would park off the side of the highway in the dark and we would just listen to these bulls bugle and listen to the interactions that were going on. And like, I could remember so many nights of us just being out there, just listening to the elk. Like, oh man, that is crazy. Like, we would try to, with our voice, we would try to like
Mm-hmm.
sounds or like try to do a little whistle and then they would respond to it. They would even respond to like the breaks back in the day, of
Right.
squeaky breaks. So it was such a cool thing. But like for my kids, so I have four kids,
Mm-hmm.
and when my boys were like 4 or 5, I was on an over the counter hunt, and I only had a couple days left. Well, I took the boys with me, and they were pretty good with the bugle tube at this point because we were obsessed with it. And I took the boys out, and I was truly just taking them out just to get them some experience. Right. I went to an area that I had been to that I hadn't been seeing elk. I didn't think anything was going to happen. Well, I told the boys, I'm like, you rake and you call. They started doing it, and one of them like jumps up and he's like, I heard one, and I'm like, whatever. And then at that moment, I heard, and I was like, no way. So I told them, keep going, keep going. So they did it, and the elk were getting closer. Well, mind you, they're like little tiny guys, right? And I
Yeah.
got super excited. I grabbed them. I'm like, let's go. So we ran after them, and I'm like dragging these two little twin boys through the woods with a bow. Like they're falling down. Both of them are troopers, but they're
Yep.
like, going on? Well, I bust us out in a creek, and there's like a meadow, and I ruined the whole thing because I was like trying to push them through. But it was the coolest thing ever. It was like,
That is
at
so cool.
like the kids were like obsessed, like
Oh, for sure. And at that moment, like I'm sure if they're anything like my kids, they come back and they tell that story. Like
oh yeah,
we had it coming in for dad. Like they're big deals.
yeah. The video to it. I have a cell phone video of it.
Mm-hmm.
funny because the one of them goes, "Oh my god,"
Oh, cute.
so cute. But and then the other one's just beating the tree. Like, but yeah,
They were in it.
yeah. But we ended up getting a deer and an elk that year with the boys, and they were just tiny little things. Like I was totally just doing like the road hunting thing. So I'd pull up, park off the side of a county road, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "All right, let's go, boys!" And I'd bring them snacks and just kind of let them be loud and do their thing. But they were my good luck charm that year, so it was
Yeah.
super.
It is always fun too to see kind of the difference. We say that like there's almost been seasons. Obviously, there's seasons of hunting, but there's different types of seasons of hunting. When you have your kids or like the kind of tag you have can
Mm,
vary and it changes as they get older too. But those moments too, like those are memories you'll hold on forever, even, if you were, like you said, you were road hunting, where
yeah.
I'm sure the past you would have been like, road hunting, like what?
Yeah, well, I do like a mixture, right? So I don't I try not to go past 3 miles, and I just use like the pressure because I'm in the land of the over the counter, so I use the pressure. So I
Oh,
kind of that, but on this one, I truly was like less than a mile or a mile at most, and it was like it was super cool. I like hunting like that. It's just sometimes it's not always the best.
it sounds like you do have experience taking your kids with. Are there things that like lessons you've learned in taking them? As far as
Yeah,
like you have snacks, obviously. You've learned that's a good thing, but like once you're out hunting with them, what lessons have you learned to maybe make it more enjoyable for all of you?
the biggest lesson that I've learned is not to be so serious. Like
Mm,
kids are out. Like I know like our seasons, they have a timeline, right? But it's so worth it to take the kids and to let them be themselves, let them be loud, let them throw rocks. It's huge, right? So like I take things so that they can take a nap. I let them be loud and it kills me sometimes inside like so loud. But if they're happy and it works, they love it, right? And usually it works. Like we're big on the calling thing, so I get them involved. So I have them all make like I'll have one kid make a calf sound. I'll have the other kid bugle, and then I'll have the other two like raking and throwing rocks, and it works. Like it's super efficient. I think like just the more sounds and I kind of spread them out a little bit,
mm,
try to like show them the tracks, and then I let them catch bugs and just kind of do everything.
yeah. No, it sounds
Like
like they're part of the team and you guys
yeah,
are like almost your own little herd acting as a herd.
yeah. For a while there, I was too serious. I'm like, you guys got to be quiet, like, and it just wasn't working out. They didn't like it. It was miserable for them. And then once I kind of let them do their own thing, then they love it. So it's super fun.
Yeah. I think that's what's important is like you said stepping back and not making it so serious so that we always say like we don't want to burn our kids out. We've learned that there's different levels for different ages.
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I would never want them to be like burned out on hunting or not loving it when I can see that they have the love and passion, but just because of a scenario. And they've had their tough days where it's like sometimes it just sucks, but
Mm,
there's good life lessons in that too.
for sure. Yeah, and I feel like shed hunting really helped them with their hiking and then just
Mhm.
their love for the animals and just everything. Like we're really intentional about getting them out shed hunting.
Okay.
And my girls don't like hunting as much as my boys, but that goes in waves too. So the girls kind of get jealous when the boys go and then
Yeah.
go. So it's super fun.
Have they found sheds?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So before I used to, so I would circle the shed, right? So like I would walk,
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, whoever finds it, finds it.
It's like
Well,
an
there were,
Easter egg hunt.
yeah, I would walk around that shed like 15 times before somebody's like, oh, you found one.
Mhm.
But, but the last time I took the kids out, they skunked me and I was like, yes, that's perfect. So it was super cool.
That is cool. It is so fun, I think, just getting him outdoors and seeing the kind of different adventures and introducing him to different things. Yeah, I always say shed hunting for me personally is I think I just genuinely love being able to get outdoors and do it with my kids. And I've been able to do it with them since they were little. Like the horns are just bonus points.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm curious. So you brought up your partner in Western Hunt Fest. You
Mhm.
guys, did you guys become friends first, or were you just meeting each other at trade shows and it just like sparked off Western Hunt Fest?
No, so it's super cool. So we're actually brother-in-laws.
Nice.
Yeah, so we married sisters, and I would see him. We didn't talk all that much, right? Like we'd see each other at birthday parties. I went to his wedding. It was like we were cool, but we didn't really like talk all that much. I knew he hunted, and then at one birthday party for one of the kids, we were sitting there talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going bow hunting," and I'm like, "Huh, that's kind of cool." And he was like, "You got to get a bow. Like, let's go." So I had an old school like Hoyt apple, and I got that thing ready to go, and we went, and that was it. And then we were like inseparable, you know.
That's where your bromance started, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And then after that, we were always out. Our wives were mad and making all the how we're not killing, we're just going.
Yeah, you're just going on vacation. Do you guys even
Yeah,
actually hunt?
right. It was super cool. And then up to last year, it was just us two, and then we added a third. So we added a guy from Western Contours. So we added him last year, and he's been a great addition to the team. He's just all three of us have completely different personalities, different strengths. So it's been a
That's
great.
important in a team. I'm curious, you said you kind of have been like, okay, we need to do something in this regards.
Yeah.
So you guys come up with this idea. How does it all play out? Is it a quick turnaround time? Are you doing little by little and adding on to each year? Like, I'm curious how you went from A to like B, because now you guys are probably at C and D.
It's ridiculous. So we went like so I kind of obsess over things, right? So I kept telling Efren, like, dude, we got to do this. We got to do this. So we literally came up with a plan and then had an event 3 months later.
Wow.
And it was like, it was awesome. It was way better than we anticipated. We wanted to do it just so we can, like, it was almost like a trial so we can do it the following year. And I'm like, there's no better way to learn than to just do it, right?
Mhm.
So we did it and it was awesome. Like, it went way smoother than we thought. It was we had some good backing, right? So we had a lot of good friends that were in the industry. So we had a lot of like backing from minute one. So that helped us get the crowd there. But yeah, it was awesome. Like we did it and it was a success. And then I'm like, all right, let's go. We're gonna double it. So we just doubled it. And then last year we got a little too eager. I think we wanted to do too many events. It was just there was a lot, right? So we didn't have quite the turnout we wanted, and um, it was I don't know. It didn't meet our expectations. So this year we backed up just a little bit. So we went from hosting 5 events in 2024 to 3, just so that we can hone in on what we're doing. We also this year we eliminated the championship. I don't know if you remember. I told you we had a women's championship and a men's championship.
Yes.
Go through the circuit, and then the leaders all compete at a final. So
Okay.
we did the final this year just to redo it. We had a lot of um, I don't know. There was a lot of people complaining about points, and it was becoming like a lot of people were taking it a little bit too serious, right? So we wanted to step back and keep it fun and still have the competitions at each event. But we will go back to the championship eventually. But we wanted to take a step back on that just because it was a lot of headache. We had like people messaging us at all hours of the night. Hey, my points on this, like how come this, and we were like, whoa, hold on, like it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Bow hunters are competitive, man.
Yeah, it was cool to see people really caring about how they're doing and stuff. But with us all having a full time job outside of this, we were like, hold on, we got to step back just a little bit.
Yeah,
So
definitely part of growing pains.
yeah, yeah, that was a major growing pain. And then we had Efren doing that, so he's the one doing the score, and he's like, dude, I can't like. It is what it is. Like the score, we have a score sheet. It is what it is. Like I can't be going through and looking through everybody's stuff every
Yeah,
week.
change it for one, then you gotta change it and do it around for everyone.
Right.
Was your guys' first competition what like all entailed in that? Was it just
So
shooting? Was there a ruck run?
yeah, so our very first competition was we had 2 days of 3D archery competition. And on the Saturday of the event, we had elk calling contest, and then we had the pack out challenge on both days as well. So we just did the pack out challenge, the elk calling contest, and the 3D archery, and then we did seminars as well. So that was kind of like the framework of the Western Hunt Fest.
Okay. And is that how you guys still run it now, or have you taken or added to that?
Yeah, so we've evolved it a little bit. So we this year the big changes are going to be that we're adding a fun 3D archery shoot, so no score.
Hmm.
So it's going to be fun with the long, super long shots, the moving targets for the people that can't compete with like the top shooters, right?
Mm.
We wanted to have fun with them, let them shoot, and let them be comfortable in an environment that's somewhat competitive. And then, so we're doing 1 day of fun shooting, 1 day of competition. At our New Mexico event, we added a rifle competition. So we have everything still. So we have the 3D archery, we have the sprint challenge, and then we added the rifle. We also added a sprint challenge, which is you stand in a line, you shoot at a target, you run down, you grab a sandbag, you drag it back, then you shoot again, and it's all timed. So speed counts, accuracy counts, and there's like a scoring system to merge them. Super fun, super challenging. I tried it for the first time at the end of season last year. There was a guy who I thought looked pretty slow, but he was beating everybody, and I'm like, dude, I can beat you. Like, do it. I did it, and he whooped me by like seconds, like 5 seconds. I'm like, what the heck? Like,
Yeah.
but I
Wow.
also missed the target when I was shooting because I'm like just trying to rip, like
Quick.
if I score, my speed's gonna outweigh my score, but it didn't. He
Mhm.
had it with science. And then we're keeping the seminars. We're adding more seminars. So initially we started with only elk calling seminars. So we've evolved to adding like pack fitting seminars. This year we're going to be doing a butcher seminar. We're going to add a lot of conservation in it this year. And just we're just evolving with what the crowd wants, right?
Smart. When these take place, are you able to just put in for like one event or is it an overall competition?
Yeah, so you can do one. So you can put in for one and then you can compete in every individual competition, or you can buy a pass that just allows you to compete in everything. So
Mhm.
we've structured it to where like if you're just there for the pack out challenge, you can just do the pack out challenge. Or if you're just there for the elk calling, you can do that as well.
And is that over? You said the first one was over a couple days. Is it still over a couple of days?
Yeah, so two of the three events are 2 days and then the third one is 3 days.
Oh. And with the seminars, so it's like open to public, like you said. People could just come to the seminars even to
And
learn
that
like the butchering.
yeah, so the seminars and like the festivities, like the vendors and all that jazz, it's all free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
After spending months on the mountain, hunting, soaking up all that natural sunlight, the days are now getting shorter and colder. I don't even have to tell you this. I personally have experienced that this time of year affects my vitamin D levels to be low, which impacts things like my mood and energy levels, just to name two things. I'm preparing to keep my vitamin D levels where they should be with the help of Mountain Op's vitamin D3 plus K2 gummies. These are delicious strawberry gummies that are a convenient way to help you get more vitamin D intake every day. Adding this to my daily routine has helped me conquer my days, whether I'm on the mountain, in the gym, working, or being a spouse and parent. You can get your Mountain Ops vitamin D3 plus K2 gummies at mountainops.com today. A few of our favorite other things in the cooler months that we love from Mountain Ops are their down jackets, their merino wool collections, their hoodies, the slumber cider and salted caramel drinks. I love sipping on a warm drink in the winter. And you know, we love our deep, restful, rejuvenating sleep. Hydration is also super important in the wintertime too. So be sure to check out their pineapple hydrate. It's the one back there. This is their new flavor and it seriously tastes like a Dole Whip. My kids love this hydrate. And because I just looked back there and I realized what else I have back there, Ignite. Need I say more? Energy and focus. To shop our favorites and help donate a meal to a child in need, go to mountainops.com and use our code BRIT, that's BRITT, for 20% off. Again, that's mountainops.com and use our code BRIT, BRITT, for 20% off. I'm curious if, because you were saying that you were watching that guy shoot and drag and you were like, oh, I could do that easily. I'm
Yeah.
sure over the years have taken place. Have you noticed like specific workouts or routines that you're continuing to see athletes show up and like work well or something you're like, wow, I need to do more of that?
The biggest thing for me is the rucking,
Mhm.
the shooting of your bow, right? Like dialing in your bow, but not necessarily just your bow, but dialing you to your bow and your form and everything. Like the guys that are really geeking out on their shooting, they're they're amazing, right? So they're well rounded in everything, but they really geek out on their shooting, and that for me is like the thing that I see grab everybody's interest the most. Like whether they're, just working on their form or doing workouts to pull more weight or to pull weight with less stress, right? I feel like that for me has been the number one thing, as well as rucking, right? So putting the rucksack on and really being intentional about your weight. So not trying to do the 260 pounds right out the gate, but really just starting with 50 pounds, short rucks, and then increasing in length, increasing in weight, and just being smart about it. We've seen guys that are like, they went from barely being able to finish the pack out challenge to like full on, like they can run it if they wanted, right?
Mhm.
So it's pretty cool.
I'm sure that is cool to see the progress of having people come back the next year. And like you said at the beginning of this, where you were like, I got that like competitiveness, I got to tweak and see where I was weak in things.
Yep.
Has there been a lot of returning athletes come back that you're just blown away by?
Oh yeah. So the gal who won our competition, so she won the overall women.
Mhm.
Um, Man, she improved on everything. So from her calling to her shooting to her pack out to her sprint challenge, she won at least one event, like overall. So like whether it was calling, whether it was packing out, whether it was shooting, she improved so much. Like even from like event to event, like her shooting went up significantly. Her numbers were, I think she cut the distance by like 20 points on her shooting, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Her pack out times, like they were phenomenal. They went from her struggling to finish to just being amazing, like just killing it, like hardly taking breaks, understanding her body, understanding like her output to like, like how much she should put out to finish efficiently. Because there were times where she was just going for it and then she'd have to take breaks, right?
Mhm.
When her last pack out challenge, I got to watch her do it and she was like taking it at a medium pace and just, I mean, she was taking short breaks, but short breaks, right? She wasn't giving everything so she can die out in the end. It was really impressive. And then like the ultimate goal is killing an elk, right?
Mhm.
So I think it was like September, like I don't know, eighth, ninth. She was the first one to kill a bull out of like all the people that competed in the event. So it was super, super cool.
That is really cool to hear that it transpired into the field too.
Yeah.
And to
She
watch somebody put in all that effort and it pay off. You're like you're rooting for her anyways.
yeah, she couldn't make a sound with a reed, right? And now if you hear her call, you're like, what the heck? Like within a year too. So it was just hard work and practicing, right? So it wasn't like just rucking, it wasn't just shooting, it wasn't just calling, it was everything. She worked on all of it and it was so impressive to see. And that's just one person, right? So it was everybody across the board. Like our last event, like the shooting scores were so much better than our first. Our elk calling contest at the end, I was one of the judges at the end and we had so many different ties and like I couldn't pick out who was who in the beginning. I'm like, okay, I think I know who that was, but I wasn't sure. Right at the end, it was like, wow, all of these people are really good, and I guarantee if most of these people go into the woods, they're going to be calling in a handful of bulls, right? And it was super super awesome.
That is cool. I'm sure too, it's cool to see that transpire when that was kind of your guys' ultimate goal starting this years ago.
Yeah, yeah, and then we got to see a lot of our elk callers. They did really well in worlds. They did really well in all the other competitions around the area. Like that's my passion is the elk calling, right? So I got to see a lot of our people. So our youth kids, we had three in the top four at worlds
Oh,
from the west.
wow.
So it was super cool and got to root them on and they really are that good, But it was because they just kept throwing themselves out there. Like I'm one to if I see somebody there, I'm like, hey, just try the calling contest. Just try it, even if you suck.
Yeah.
It's a long run. That stage fright that you get when you go on the stage is the same stage fright you're going to get when there's a bull bugling, and you're like, man, I really don't want to mess up.
It's true.
Like I leave my call in my pocket because I don't screw this up.
Yeah. No, that's a good way of looking at it too. It sounds like you've built almost like a community too of people cheering each other on through this. It's not just showing up randomly on a day to compete against people.
Right. Yeah, I would say initially I looked at it like a big competition, but
Mhm.
now it's like a big family, right? So like we have our loyal people that are just rooting each other on. They're really trying to help the newbies. Like you'll see people working with each other on like the pack, like how to work their packs or like how to, you know, hit the calls and how to do this and that. It's really, really cool. And then like throughout the year, they all keep in contact with each other and they're all shooting together. I love it. It is the coolest thing.
Like, take me back to the ruck run because for me, one of my favorite things, obviously, I love the hunt and getting in there, but
Yeah,
I also love packing out. And
yeah.
like, I love putting on my pack and doing inclined weight walks. What does that pack event look like?
So it's a simulation. So for women's solo, we do a mule deer, and for men's solo, we do a elk. So we get like the average size of a bull elk, and we take all four quarters. We put
Okay.
them in, and then we do the back straps, tenderloins, neck meat, rib meat, and we put those in 10-pound bags. So we do 4 10-pound bags to mock up, those things. We also make them carry their bow on one trip and the head. So they have there's a start line. We use the RFID, kind of like the Spartan race. They
Okay.
put once they cross the start line, their time starts, and they have to haul every piece to the animal all the way through the course. And then once they finish, it's over. We also have a team division where you can split. It's the team division splits the elk load. So, like, let's say you and your husband are a team. You guys split the elk load. You still have to carry all the different pieces, but you only have to carry one bow and you only have to carry one head. And you just
Oh.
go and then finish it up. It's super, super fun. It's super educational because, like, a lot of people have these packs, right? And they never open them up. They never learn how to use them. So it's teaching them how to be efficient. It's teaching them how to use their equipment. Like that is a huge part of hunting that people don't think of until they have an
They're out
animal on
there.
and it's hot and you got to get that animal out of there. Like you got to know how to work your stuff. You got to know if your stuff's good enough too, right?
Mhm.
Like if you have a pack that sucks, I've been on pack outs where my pack was horrible and it was like meat's falling out and I'm like lean over and
Oh,
like
yeah. A pack makes a big difference.
oh yeah, and it's huge difference. So
Mhm.
it just gives them a chance to do a simulation of a pack out before they get there. It also helps them understand, like, hey, I probably shouldn't be hunting 10 miles back if I can't do a pack out a mile, right?
Yeah. Do you
So,
see different methods too, as far as like, because you said they could take different trips.
yep.
So is it interesting to watch the different methods people use?
Yeah, so we have some freaks, right? There are freaks that can do it
Like
in two.
load it all in.
Yeah, D1 wrestlers, like we have these guys that participate in this that are absolute freaks. They're not the normal person, right? The
Mhm.
normal person, the way we see them excel is doing 3 loads. So doing a rear and splitting the tenderloin backstrap and their bow, and then doing that again, and then doing the fronts together. So it's pretty cool to watch, like especially when you see somebody who's like, okay, I'm going to take half an elk and I'm just going to go right. We've had people who drop sandbags on the course, and then they come back and they have to do. But
Oh
it's
man, how long's the course?
every place is different. So each course we want to have loose footing, we want to have some side hilling, we want to have some ups and some significant downs. So depending on all those features, we want to add quite a bit of features in there. If there is water, we want to have a water crossing. So whenever we get that course like dialed in, then we determine the length, right? So we want it less than a mile and more than half a mile. So traditionally we were doing 3 miles, right? And it was
Yeah.
awesome, but it was taking all day, and now we have too many people to do that. So, but it was super fun to watch those guys do the 3 miles because they were beasts. Like there were guys who did half an elk 3 miles back, 3 miles again, and it was insane. And they did it with minimal sitting. We had cell cams on the course watching them.
Very cool.
Yeah,
That is cool. Are there limitations as far as like do you guys allow like trekking poles and things like
Mm.
that?
Yeah, so we allow anything you're going to use while you're hunting. We don't allow like a pack wheel or llamas or,
Yeah.
but we do allow them to use what they use, right? So every piece of equipment that you're going to use in the field, you're allowed to use while you're doing your pack out. It's super cool though, right? So like everybody hunts different, everybody uses different equipment. This is a chance for them to really dial in their equipment beyond the competition. The competition's super fun, but like everybody should do it just to figure out like where their baseline is, like where your fitness is, what you need to improve on, where your gear stacks up, and just all the pieces, right?
I totally agree. I think it's so smart because there's been scenarios where we've even just done like what we call like mock stocks just to
Yeah.
get a feel of like, okay, let's run through this scenario. And if
Hmm.
we blow this, then like no hard feelings. But to be able to do it in well before a hunt and try out your gear and to get that kind of knowledge and for your fitness level too, because then it gives you time to adjust and get that together before it's fall.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the cool part about participating in all the events, right? So if you participate in one, the guys from Hunt Hike Harvest, they're the ones who run our pack out challenge. So they're professional athlete coaches, right? So they geek out. They have the heart monitors, they have everything on there. And they're really working with these guys to like and gals to figure out like exactly how to improve their skills. They try to help them initially, like there's people who are like, "Oh, I'm going to take two rears," and they're like, "Hold on, slow down. There's a smarter way to do this. If you want to complete this better, do it this way." So they're really like they're working through a study from the last like 3 years of these events. So they're going to publish a study on it, and they take it to the whole other level, right? So they geek out on like the physical fitness side of it and just the efficiency and everything.
That's a cool way to like elevate your business too as what they do. To be able to
Yeah.
study something like that, I can't
Oh,
imagine the information and knowledge they've gathered because as you know, every time we go out, we learn something new about ourselves and the way our bodies move and react and that was a smart way to do it at that time. Really
yes.
efficient.
Super cool though. So like they get the data from the first one, the second one, and the third one, and if you go through all three, those guys can really help you dial it in. Like this is where you're at, and this is where you need to be in season, right? And
Wow.
then they can kind of like help you with how far you should be hunting and what you should be eating and everything. So they go next level. Like I won't even begin to speak on what they're gathering and whatnot. They just do an amazing job and
That would be cool too, just as a hunter to do that, see your progression over one season, and then to be able to come back, like you said,
yeah.
and see those stats the next season would be just so like have so much value in that.
Oh yeah. So I would say just about everybody that competed in our first year is still with us on year 4. So it's super cool to see like their improvements that they've made, the transformations with their bodies and like their harvests. It's so cool. Like they're all killers now. They're all getting into the elk. They're all calling. They're all doing everything better than they were years ago or even early in the year, right? It's awesome. Like super super cool.
If someone's listening to this and you're like, okay, like Brittany, you have piqued my interest. This is something I'm into. What things would you suggest like start training now?
I would immediately I would start hiking, right? I
Hmm.
would start in the hills, just getting your legs used to ups and downs, working on your footing, on maneuvering through the landscape. Then I would throw some pack on. I mean, some weight on your pack, like nothing crazy, 20 pounds, 50 pounds, right? Just get it in there, get some hikes in. Another alternative to that would be shed hunting. As soon as every state's different, but as soon as the shed opener hits, go hit the hills. It'll give you a reward, and those antlers get heavy. They get
Yeah.
super heavy.
Yeah. Which if you're in that boat, then congratulations, because that means you've had a good day too.
For sure. Yeah, you've had a good day training and a good day finding.
Yeah.
Uh, Another thing I would really work on is, and I don't think we touched on this, but our 3D competition, we add hunt specific tasks on them. So
Okay.
we're asking people to shoot under distress. So like we'll make you sometimes do a workout, and which causes your heart rate to go up and then makes you shoot, wonky. We also have you hold your bow back for 30 seconds before you shoot. We have them just do a bunch of stuff, right? Moving targets and crawling from one pin to the other without getting spotted. So you have to stay below a certain level. There's a lot to it. There's some shots where we ask them to draw and shoot, right? So just draw, settle, shoot. There's so much, but I would practice on the shooting aspect. I would practice shooting from a sitting position, drawing your bow back from a sitting position, crawling from one place to another, and then shooting. Just little things like that. The heart rate one is probably the worst in my opinion. Like doing a workout and then shooting with an elevated heart rate. That's the only way to kind of mock buck
Yeah.
fever. The only way.
Yeah.
And if you get good at that, you're going to get really good. Shooting at different angles, making sure that your third axis is set, right? I mean, you can be awesome at flatland, and then when you start hitting the angles, your bow can be off or you can be off. So
Mhm.
just getting comfortable being uncomfortable, I would say is huge. And then lastly, I would say like pick up the calls. Like throw them in your car, pick up the calls. Calling it's a cheat code in the mountains. Like if you can call these animals to you or locate the animals without having to go mile after mile after mile, it's going to save your legs. It's going to, really help you. And then one thing that I really want to like touch on this year is having people understand the wind, right? So walking around with a wind checker, even when they're when they're rucking, just understand the thermals and how the wind can shift, and because that for anything, elk, deer, pronghorn, everything,
Oh, yeah.
wind is huge. So
Wind is huge. How are you guys gonna incorporate that into that? Is there like a scoring system with wind?
we kind of already do it. We do it very minimal, right? So like
Mhm.
there's a couple of course where I make people just pull out the wind checker and just kind of check, and
Okay.
then they have to maneuver one way or the other with the wind. But yeah, like I think like just leaving, we're gonna leave like wind checkers everywhere, right? Like check the wind, see what the wind's doing. Just kind of letting people know how important it is by having that everywhere in the event, right? So
Oh, yeah.
it's important.
It's so important. We were joking on my archery bison hunt in Utah. My husband and I were like, we're gonna run out of freaking dust in our wind checkers because 6 weeks running around the mountain and the wind was, I mean, like any hunt is so crucial, but we found it was just constantly switching where we were. And that's we were like, damn, like this freaking wind. I really appreciate the fact that you guys are adding in so many real life scenarios because these are things that I try and incorporate into my workout. So the fact that it's encouraging other people to do that while also giving them it gives you like a reason to show up sooner than the hunts doing these things.
Yeah, like you could follow, so you can track me, right? If I were ever to get lost in the mountains, you can probably track me by my wind checker. Yeah, everywhere.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Like,
the dang wind.
um,
Just because the weather is getting colder doesn't mean you shouldn't be thinking about upgrading your cooler. We still have plenty of adventures to take, food to keep cold while you're going on them, and you want to keep them from getting soggy. There's nothing worse than reaching in for like your snack and the paper's wet and soggy or your cheese is soggy. Plus, you want to be able to keep those drinks cold, keep those mountains blue and the water refreshing after that hike. Not to mention, be able to keep your meat cold on the way to the butcher or taking it home. So, where are you going to put all that? In a cooler that's ultra lightweight? Are you going to be able to keep those drinks cold, those mountains blue, and your food organized? Are you going to be able to keep those snacks easily accessible? How about knowing that your cooler can float upright every time? No need to panic on the duck boat anymore. Rugged Road Coolers offer all this. And they have new sizing. They have the smaller V25. This can hold up to 25 12-ounce cans. It's kind of like a cool, bigger version of a lunch pill, but it still has all of our favorite features of the Rugged Road. The flip top and the snack rack. Plus, now they have the big daddy of them all, the 115. This sucker will hold some meat, and we're excited. Ours is currently on its way. Like I mentioned, the Rugged Road is ultra lightweight. As you can see, one hand, it has this flip top, which I think would be super nice come duck season to be able to, one, sit on an extra bench, and then two, be able to sit and make your food on something, some cup holders as well. And then, like I mentioned, inside it does have the snack rack. So you've got a place to put your things, a divider so you know whose drinks go where and what. And it has top of the line ice retention. To get your new cooler, go to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use our code LONG, that's LONG, for 10% off your next cooler. Tell them we sent you by going to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use our code LONG again for 10% off your next order.
Yeah, one more thing that I would really like to touch on is the kids.
I was going to ask the youth because you've mentioned that. Are there competitions for them?
So there's an elk calling competition. Last year at our Bailey event, we also had like a little fitness challenge for them. Yeah, we do have the last few years we had a Nerf bow range, so we had like inflatables, and the kids shoot those little Nerf bows that whistle. And
Yeah.
it's just fun. So we don't want to like kill them with competition. We want them to just love it, right? So we'll have little fun competition things for them, like, hey, let's see if you guys can. Let's see who hits that first, right? And then just the elk calling. Every kid loves it. At each event, I do a like little group seminar with the kids. So I pull all the kids aside and I'm like, hey, let's bugle. Let's learn this. Let's understand this. So like the kid part of it is just so much fun, and it's my passion, right? The kids, like I'm a wrestling coach on my off time. Um, we everywhere I go, like no matter where we have a booth, if you see a Western Hunt Fest booth, you will see a pile of kids, and you will see us calling, right? And we will be so annoying, but that's what we
So
love to.
important. It's the future.
Absolutely.
Are so you guys you've been doing it for 4 years? Is that what
Hmm.
you said? Have you had a chance, I don't know yet, to have people like kids go from being in the kid group to now competing? Have you guys
Not
had that transition yet?
not
Not
yet.
yet. That would
I
be
hope.
exciting.
Yeah, we have one girl who is 16. She competed in the women's division in the pack out challenge, and it was super cool. She's done it twice now, and her first one was rough. She finished it like a trooper, and her second one was great. And then this year, she killed 198-inch mule deer,
Dang, girl.
killed a bull, a pronghorn. Like she's just doing phenomenal. But she is our first one that we'll see like transition into the adult, right?
Yeah.
And then a lot of our youth are so good at elk calling that we're throwing them in the adult division.
Yeah, give them a run for their money.
Yeah, so pretty cool.
That is really cool to see. And yeah, and to get the youth involved, I think is so important and so much fun.
Yeah, for
'Cause
sure.
that's something my kids would be down for. And it makes me think too of when I was little and thinking of that teenage girl because, I was kind of on the outskirts of like what I wanted to do being a teenage girl. And I remember
Yeah,
just doing an archery shoot contest and winning that and just like it just helps solidify like there is a place for me in the world, but I never had that competition aspect of it with a real life scenario too, which is so
yeah,
cool that she's learning to do that now instead of later on in life.
absolutely. So where did you grow up?
In Utah.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah,
Nice.
yep, so
Like
that's where
Utah,
we are now.
or like Salt Lake City,
Small
Utah? Like
town Utah, yeah. So we
no.
went up to one of the expos and they had a random shooting contest and I just happened to be like, "I'm bringing my bow." And
Yeah,
did that and I ended up winning shooting. I remember, I'll never forget it, shooting like a tiny little target on a bear, a black bear.
that's so cool.
Yeah, and that was my, like, walking around just, like, real proud of myself, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, beating out the boys.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, that's way cool. So did you grow up hunting?
I did, yeah. I grew up hunting. My dad's always just taken me with since I was little. I always had a love for bows. We always joke that my mom got me Barbies and my dad bought me a bow,
Yeah,
and I ended up going with the bow, and I would just shoot for hours in our backyard. just over and over and over again. And the only time
That
I played with my dolls was when my dad took his old camouflage and he helped sew camouflage for my American Girl dolls. And then they just stood in the corner.
that's funny. That's way cool. Yeah. So at like Bass Pro and Cabela's, they sell the Barbie kits that are like hunters.
Yeah, now they have them.
Yeah. So my daughter's like, they love those. They have like all the little hunting dogs, and then like at this pet store we go to, they sell like the elk and the moose. So they have all this stuff. It's pretty cool.
That is cool. It is cool to see what they've I think the industry is definitely recognizing youth a lot more than they have, and also females.
Yeah, the women thing, like that is the
Yeah.
coolest. Like so from year one, I don't think we had a single woman that participated. Right now, we have so many, and they're all so good. Women are way better shots than men, and
I agree.
way better learners. They're sponges. They will like soak up anything. So it's super cool to see all the women. With that being said, we do have a women's division in everything that we do. So like whether it's the sprint challenge, whether it's the pack out challenge, whether it's the 3D archery, the rifle, we have a women's division in everything just to kind of separate that and really have the women, compete against their peers as
Mhm.
opposed to monsters that have
Right.
been doing it.
Yeah. Well, and it is true. Like for the longest time I didn't want to admit like men can do other things more simply than women, but there are certain things that just are more natural. We're built differently, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So, but it doesn't mean that I sure don't like to try and beat them.
For sure. Like because
I'm
the
like,
sport.
don't say I can't.
Yeah. I got beat by. Do you know the PNW Huntress? I can't
Oh,
remember.
uh-huh.
Yeah, she like we shot at best of the best, and I was like, all right, I want to at least hear her score. She said it, and I was like, oh shoot, never. Yeah,
Good for her. That makes
yeah,
me happy.
yeah. But these women, you should see these women do the pack out challenge. It's crazy. I know that there's a few of them that would whoop me. I know for sure, like just how like meticulous they are with like their loads, and guys want to just throw everything in and just and then it doesn't sit well and you're leaning,
Oh
the
yeah.
gals putting it
Girls
in.
know how to pack a bag.
Oh, for sure. And it's pretty cool. Like it's pretty cool to watch, but there's some women out there that are absolute tanks.
Yeah. I don't doubt it because like you said, I do think women, especially when it comes to shooting, like so detail oriented, good at like taking a breath and calming down and then packing out. I think, just my experience, I
Yeah.
find that I enjoy the pack out I think a lot more times than most of our hunting buddies that are men. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious if there's been like any life lessons you've learned along the way while watching the competition.
Ooh, yeah. There's a bunch. The biggest one I would say is just not giving up, right?
Mm.
Like I love to see somebody, I don't love to see them fail, but I love to see somebody that has failed get up and go again, right? Like most of us, not most of us, but a lot of us, if we failed at something, we would never try it again. I've watched people fail, absolutely fail at elk culling or absolutely fail at the pack out challenge, and then see them come to the very next event. I mean, in shape, ready to go. Like, whoa, hold on. I thought for sure you were going to give up, but you're back. And then you just completed it. And then you completed it super efficient, right? So that, like, I would say, like, the lesson of not giving up and just perseverance has been the number one. Our very first event we had, it was a 16-year-old girl and a 16-year-old boy. And I guess we have watched them transition into the adults.
Okay.
Well, this kid came with like a JanSport backpack, and he messaged me and he was like, "Hey, I want to come to this event. I want to just try it." So I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." So he showed up with this gear, and he got one lap done of the pack out challenge and had to finish. Right, it
Yeah.
was too much. The very next year, he came back. He finished the pack out challenge, and then last year he was finishing the pack out challenge like nothing. So it was super cool. But that one was super special to us. The guys from High Harvest had gave him a new pack and some camo and stuff. So it
Wow.
was cool to see this kid who came in with like jeans and a JanSport, non-hunter, come back with like a bow ready to go, like with a bugle tube. I mean, had all the gear ready to participate, and came year one unable to finish, year two way better, year three just amazing. So it was super cool.
Yeah,
But
you
yeah,
guys are giving that like teach a man to fish
hmm
experience, it sounds like, especially for him.
yeah,
You mentioned that you guys are going to be doing a rifle shoot
yeah.
this year. What does that look like?
So the rifle competition, it's we're gonna stick to the training with it, right? So we're gonna have them shoot with the elevated heart rate one. Another big thing, so like growing up rifle hunting, I feel like a huge issue with rifle hunting is identifying the target and then making a shot in the right amount of time.
Mm.
So we're some of those type of shots. There's going to be 4 stations with 5 shots, so each shot has a hunt task on it, but it's going to be structured with groups of 10. So we'll have 50 spots. We wanted to start out small. We didn't want to like have 200 people shooting
Yeah.
rifles, right? 50 spots. And then we're going to work through it. And then if it's a success, we're going to bring it back every year.
And then do you guys have like distance wise? What's like
Yeah, 600 and in.
okay.
So that is like we were playing with the numbers, and we wanted to go out to 1,000, and then like we're like, yeah, let's do 60 and in, right?
Yeah.
So same with our 3D archery. Like we try to keep everything ethical. So for our competition portion, so we want to have ethical shots. We will throw a 100-yard shot like during our 3D competition just for a follow up shot, and we'll have a poster that says like this is a follow up shot. Like put the arrow where it needs to go. Just anywhere. Hit the animal. Let's get some more blood. So with the rifle, I'm kind of playing with the idea of having one further out, but
Hmm.
but 600 in is our target.
And that's it. Just one of the events this year.
That's at our New Mexico event.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well, that would be cool to see how that goes. I
yeah,
can
it's gonna,
imagine you're excited because now you're like putting all of your worlds together where it all started.
yep, and bonding the groups together, right? So
Yeah.
rifle hunters stick over here, bow hunters stick over here. Got the bird guys way over here.
Yep.
Like everybody together. We want everybody in one place. We're all a community, and we all need to be better at like getting together and having fun. With that being said, we're allowing people to carry a gun on the pack out challenge too. So if they declare I'm a bow hunter, I mean I'm a rifle hunter,
Perfect.
they,
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask if they could do the pack out challenges too.
yeah, yeah. So
Oh, that'll be cool to watch. I can't wait to see how all that goes. I can imagine, is it like, I don't know, maybe not a logistical nightmare to set these up? Have
yes,
you learned a lot about setting? Because events can be a lot to take
yes.
on.
Schedules are so hard at events, right? Our first year, that was our biggest thing. We sucked with our schedule. We had a schedule, and we were like an hour over on everything. But now we have it pretty, and so we have like people set up to do this. Even if we're going over, we have somebody starting it at this time. It's becoming way easier. Like last year, I feel like that was the thing we nailed. Right, we didn't have the participation we wanted, but our schedule and our like running everything was so perfect. It was smooth from our setup to our teardown. We had everything just like it was like an unspoken agreement. Okay, I'm gonna go do this. Boom, and we just like we were set up. We had time to hang out, and shoot a little bit in between the events. Our registration went smooth. Everything is getting way more efficient on our 4th year now.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's got to alleviate a lot of stress for you too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you have any tips? Because I know we've got like a lot of small business owners that listen, and a lot of people are getting now to where we're building all these communities, which is amazing online, but wanting to put on like a Saturday event. Do you have any tips for anybody getting started with putting on an event to make it more smooth that you've learned over the years?
Yeah, I would just say transparency, right? So like trying to like get your audience and just be open with them and tell them like, hey, we're gonna do this and this is our goal, and asking for their feedback, right? So like we do a survey, and we really take everybody's opinion into consideration, and we try to make it match them, right? Another thing would be just go for it. Experience.
Yeah.
Experience is gonna teach you the most.
It sounds like that's like honestly one of your strengths. It sounds like from bow hunting to putting on this event, you've just been like, you know what? I'm just gonna pick it up and learn as I go. And a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah, yeah.
I
The
think
guts. It's nerve wracking, but I've always been kind of spontaneous. So, like, I think experience though in anything in sports, in starting your own business, in school, anything, just go for it. Right? Just throw yourself out there. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to fail, and then you can try again. Right?
no, and I think it's good to hear you say, you know, because you speak with so much confidence about just starting, but to say it still is nerve wracking for you, even
Oh,
though
for
you've done it.
right now, I'm nervous because we haven't had an event of the year,
Yeah.
especially for the rifle competition. Because I'm like, man, we have this expectation. Like, we've done a really good job up to this point. There's going to be a time where it's not as good, right? But the guys that I'm working with on this, I trust them, right? I trust them. I don't try to micromanage what they do. They don't try to micromanage what I do. So we trust each other to the point to where, like, let's go. Like, I can make a decision on a day to day basis and they won't question it. They can make a decision and all we have to do is tell each other, right? So it's like confidence in your team and just going for it, right?
hmm Yeah. In what way do you guys have it set up to work together? Like you have this strength. You mentioned you each have your strengths.
Yeah. So Guy is our type A. He's our type A. Him and Efren, Guy manages like the speaking and the like some of the schedule, some of the relationships with like our bigger sponsors and all that jazz. He handles all the details, the schedules, the timelines, like where we're supposed to be. Efren manages the finance and a different part of the schedule. So Efren will dial up the schedule for the events. I will dial up the schedule for like our trade shows and like our marketing and all that jazz. I'm the go, just do go, right? So like I like to set up the courses. I take Efren with me just because we work super well together with like designing the courses, right? I want him a particular way just on the courses, and he's like a workhorse. So he's like, okay, give me like 10 animals, and I'll walk them up, and you put them where you want, and then just another thing. I like working with the kids. So like if there's anything kids, they stay out of it. No matter if it's the schedule, everything like that piece of it is mine. Just because that's my heart for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, for those two handle all like the day to day, the business, all that jazz. I handle like a lot of the like little things.
Yeah. Do you ever it's got to be so fun to like design the courses. Do you ever like set something up and kind of giggle to yourself like I can't wait to see people try this?
Yeah, there was one that I set up, and the people came off the course, and they're like, "You're an asshole."
And
And
you were
then
so proud of yourself.
I was so proud, like yes, that was awesome. Like I take pride in seeing somebody take 5 points or add 5 points to their score and then take it off at the end because they understand. So like I everything I do on the courses are super intentional. Every last detail, whether it's a twig, whether it's a like shooting window where you have to lean, every last detail is well thought out. I will say my weakness has been left-handed shooters. I had handed shooters last year that were like, dude, this you got to consider us, like, please, like you're mind you, I'm short too, right? So a lot of the like are my windows. So
Oh
I
yeah.
have to put other people in after I set up a course, and I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
look,
My
try to
six
figure.
foot two husband would be like on his
Yeah,
knees.
yeah. But I always like make jokes, and I'm like, well, you guys have the advantage in life. You're tall.
Yeah.
You guys have all the advantage. You can reach all the stuff on the top shelf.
Totally.
I
But you know
love.
what? That's how hunting goes. The animals
Yep.
don't care how tall you are or what hand you shoot with, too.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And left-handed people, they're smarter anyway. So.
It's fine. Uh, you guys have, I think you said 3 events coming up.
Yep.
And you guys also, we can sign up for those now on the
Mhm.
website.
Yeah.
Cool. And you guys are still like accepting sponsors and bringing more people in for the seminars?
We are. Yeah. So our seminar list is almost full. There's a couple that we're playing with, like a long range rifle. We're vetting through a couple people. Our elk calling seminars, we love the people we have. They're amazing. They're blue collar guys that know how to speak to the public, to the masses, right? And those guys are absolute killers. All three of them that we've used are just amazing hunters. We have a guy doing our butchering seminar. Yeah, so our seminars are pretty well dialed in. We will add one or two more, but that's it. As far as sponsors, our title sponsor is Wild Sheep Foundation. And then we have Women Hunt as a sponsor. We have Kafaru International as our Pack Out Challenge sponsor. We have Native by Carlton as our calling contest sponsor. Onyx Hunt is one of our core sponsors for the archery. We're still looking for a rifle sponsor. And then we really want to bring in somebody to sponsor the kids' events this year. So really somebody that is dedicated to them, that will still let me put my input in, but will, like, and add a lot more structure to it.
Yeah. I keep waiting for something like someone to figure out the power in the youth and like a company just
Yeah,
for them. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, that's good to know as far as like what you're looking for if anyone's listening that might fit those topics. As far as the competition goes, we've talked about the numbers, what you do. Do you just walk away with pride of winning or is there any kind of prize?
You get hooked up. So hacks you win, new bow sights, arrows, like all the things, right? So we get all these. So one more thing, anybody who wants to sponsor this event, get a hold of us. Like, we give everything back to them. Everything goes to these people who are competing in the event or who are there having fun. So our sponsors, we take anything from like just simple giveaways like hats and shirts to like full on equipment that you can give to these people. Like Kafaru, they donate a pack to every event, the men and women. But yeah, so we hook them up. Last year we gave them money. This year we don't have the number yet, but we're working towards a number of cash prizes. We gave the money away at just the championship last year, so this year we're going to try to divvy it up between the three events. But yeah, so it's
So
super cool. Well worth it. So, like, with the number of people that we have at the events and the number of sponsors we have, we try to give every person at least one to two things to walk away with. So, the value that you get for this event, for the price of the ticket, you will probably walk away with that in giveaways at least.
that's so rad. That yeah,
Yeah.
to be able to win, like I'm saying, like pride's awesome, beat
Yeah.
everybody, but then to get hooked up like that is that much sweeter in the pot. You guys mentioned you're going to be doing more with conservation. In what aspect are you trying to do that?
So, we're bringing in CRWM. Everybody knows Dan Gates. He's going to come in and he's going to just really like sit down and chat with people about conservation, like what it means to us, why we have to be together, and just he's gonna go through the whole gamut with it. We're also teaming up with Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation on our New Mexico event. They're going to have their banquet in conjunction with the Western Hunt Fest. So they're gonna have speakers. They're gonna talk everything conservation on their end. Our title sponsor is Wild Sheep. So we're one of our big focuses this year is to really get people to become Wild Sheep members and just give bits and pieces at each event and really pour it onto the youth as well. So like when we're working with the youth, we want to give them like a very basic conservation course at each event. So
I love that. Where can everyone go to find more information about the Western Hunt Fest, registering, looking at sponsorships, and just kind of what you guys have to offer?
yeah, so westernhuntfest.com, or they can email any of us. It's Guy at Western Hunt Fest, Efren at Western Hunt Fest, and Jeff at Western Hunt Fest. All of us are pretty quick to respond on our email, but the best place to find information is our website and then our Instagram account. Our Instagram account is the one that we use the most. We just kind of pour everything into there, and
Yeah, it gives you Instagram's a great place too to give you a feel for what you could expect going to one of the events.
absolutely, yeah.
And do you guys have anything else exciting down the pipelines that you want to share with us about?
Yeah, so okay, so like the reason we named it Western Hunt Fest, right? It wasn't we didn't want it to be a 3D archery event. We didn't want it just to be like the typical event. So we started with the idea of like, hey, rifles, hey, shotguns, hey, all this other stuff, right? So this year, yes, we added the rifle, but at our Bailey event, we're gonna set up a ground blind, and we have a disc thrower, and we're gonna have guys in there with a trad bow trying to shoot the disc
So cool.
to simulate like a goose hunt in a blind. So it's gonna be super fun, and that's just the tip of the iceberg on that end, where we're gonna try getting into the waterfowl as well. So just dipping our toes in it a little bit, just having fun with it.
Yeah. No, that sounds super exciting. That's cool. That's one of our favorite things to do, even just when we're camping, is get out our trad bow and we throw
Yeah,
footballs up in the air. And it's
yeah.
surprising how everyone gets really into it and when you finally get one.
It's cool because when you finally get them, then you're like it clicks. Like
Mm-hmm.
the we use is MTS Archery. It's a disc. It loads them up. You press a button, and then boom, it throws a disc, and it kind of throws it. You can do it like where it rolls on the ground like a rabbit, or like
Oh.
it's super fun. We can do it at night too because it has like LED lights in it, so it shoots up, and you use your Luminox and
Oh man, that would
super.
be a lot of fun. My husband's listening to this and he's like, we got to get one of these.
Oh yeah,
Oh, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me about everything, and it was so fun to get to know you and really get to hear like in depth about Western Hunt Fest. Like I said, we talked for just a few minutes last year. Um, but it was really cool to hear how it all began and like what you guys have to offer, and also just to see that, like I said, you guys are providing so much more than just a competition.
absolutely. Yeah,
I
it's a total passion, right? It was started on passion, and it continues to be a passion of ours.
I appreciate you coming on, and I'm excited for everyone to follow you guys and see what you guys have coming up and to see the ways that you guys add to Western Hunt Fest too, with all the different events coming up this year.
Yeah, yeah. And do you mind if I throw the dates on there?
Yeah, of course. Let us know
So
when.
our first event is going to be in Colorado Springs, Colorado. That'll be May 9th and 10th. It is a Friday, Saturday for that event. Sunday is Mother's Day, so we wanted to keep that clear. Our second event is our New Mexico event. It will be June 6th, 7th, and 8th, and with the rifle competition being on the 8th, the 3D archery competition being on the 7th, and then the fun shoot on the 6th and 7th. So we just wanted to kind of mix it up, and then the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation will be doing their banquet on the 6th of that evening. So,
Okay. Yeah. Those
and then
are coming up
our
soon,
last,
but there's still enough time to train.
yeah, still enough time to train. And then our final one is at American Bowman in Bailey, Colorado, and that's July 26th and 27th. So that'll be our final.
Very fun. Something to look forward to for sure. I appreciate it, Jeffrey. And
And then how do I get you and your husband to come compete?
I know we need to. Oh, it'd be so fun.